Namaste. My soul bows to your soul. And welcome to Yoga Today. And we're continuing our walk with Thich Nhat Hanh. And we looked last week about how to care for our own pain. In a way, it's how do you become, it's almost about reparenting yourself. How do you become for yourself that nurturing, safe place for the child within to be? And so Thich Nhat Hanh says, when your pain comes up, it comes up from your subconscious. We think that we're just in pain sometimes. But the reality of it is we carry it with us. And so it's there. And when something happens in the outside world that reminds us of how we picked that pain up in our life, then it comes back up out of the unconscious into what Thich Nhat Hanh would call your living room, your conscious mind and heart. And so he said it comes up and it stays there for a period of time. And he says, if after a short stay, it's going to go back anyway, regardless of what you do. The stay may be longer or shorter, but it is going to go back to the place it usually lives, down in your subconscious. But Thich Nhat Hanh is saying to us, when it comes up, this is an incredible opportunity, because now we can take care of it. Now we can deal with it. So usually what happens is we're afraid, or we're angry, or we're ashamed, feel guilty. We might be jealous, whatever the emotion is that rises up within us. Yogis would say, if it's not unconditional love, then it carries with it pain and suffering. And this is just an incredible opportunity to be mindful. Let this mindful energy that you also carry within you rise up to meet the pain that's there. And envelop it in the same way as a mother envelops a child who is in pain. And so the things that we are trying desperately to avoid in our life, that time spent in pain and suffering, that we'll do anything to avoid, Thich Nhat Hanh says, no, much, much better to embrace it. What happens when you embrace is that all of a sudden you begin to have good circulation in your psyche. We don't have this terrible barrier between the conscious and the unconscious, whereas it raises up, we just push it back down. But what happens is when we welcome it and know that this is an opportunity, this is how we're going to grow. These mental formations can now flow freely. The door has been opened by mindfulness. And it was interesting that Buddha taught his devotees, he used to say, invite fear into your mindful consciousness every day. Most of us, we see it coming and we run for the hills, push it back down in the subconscious and distract ourselves. And he's saying, not just do you allow it, you invite it. You sit in your place of meditation where your being is used to becoming quiet, where it's more peaceful than it usually is anywhere else. And you invite up fear so that you can embrace it mindfully. And then when it goes back down into your subconscious, which it will, it carries less power. So we are dealing with these seeds of fear and anger. Every time they blossom up into the conscious mind, we greet it mindfully, and it goes back down with less energy, less power, so that next time it comes up, it isn't so painful, it doesn't bring so much sorrow, and we begin to be more willing to welcome it and deal with it. If we begin, I mean, this is a life-changing new mindset to have, instead of running away from our fears and our angers and pretending that this is not who we are, this is not part of our consciousness, and stop blaming other people for it. You know, other people are not causing us to be angry. They're not causing us to be afraid. It lives within us. You know, they say a brave man faces his fear just once, where the coward is having to deal with it time and time and time and time again. Because they're dealing it when there's nothing to be afraid of. Because they're carrying it with them. So, and this again is another way, this I think is a beautiful way that Thich Nhat Hanh shares, a beautiful way to look at. He says, there is no battle. This is not a fight between good and evil, between the positive and negative. There is only the care given by the big brother to the little brother, the big sister to the little sister. You are your own big brother or big sister. This mindful consciousness that is so much more truly who you are is there ready to care for the little sister, the hurt, the shy, the nervous, the anxious, fearful, jealous little sister who doesn't know how safe and protected they are. So he says, you know, in meditation, yes, there's the conscious mind, but there's also the waste materials of the conscious mind, and they're always being transformed. And so if we'll let them, they'll be transformed into compassion. If you deal with your anger and your fear, it's transformed into compassion and peace and love. If you ignore it, it grows. It's like the Wizard of Oz, you know, all smoke and mirrors, getting bigger and bigger and bigger and seemingly more powerful, harder to deal with. But you can just face it mindfully and watch it melt away. So he says our consciousness is a living thing. There are always waste materials and flowers within us. A gardener is always alert to save waste materials and knows how to transform them into compost and then into flowers and vegetables. So he says, be grateful for your pain and your suffering because you need them. As you learn to transform them, this is where your compassion grows, where your love grows, and your judgment disappears. You have to learn the art of transforming compost into flowers. If you look deeply into the rubbish or the garbage tip with the eyes of meditation, you see the lettuce, the tomatoes, the flowers. All you need is to practice it. You see the compassion and the love behind the fear, behind the anger. So it's so true in the mind. We have these mental formations inside our mind that include the flowers of hope, of faith, of understanding, of love. But then there's also the waste materials of fear and anger and pain. The flower becomes the refuse that becomes the flower. This is non-duality. It's seeing something as whole instead of good and bad, where the flower is good, but the refuse and the compost are bad. they smell. But you know, if you never suffer, you never truly know happiness. If you're never hungry, you never truly have the joy of eating. This pain and this suffering, they're necessary. Necessary for our understanding, necessary for our happiness. We know that it helps us. You know, when you look back and you think of the things that have been the most difficult for you in your life. In fact, why don't we just take a minute and do that? Just closing your eyes and remember a time, maybe a long time ago, or fairly recent, your choice, when you faced a challenge. How did you feel then? And now as you look back, how do you feel now about what happened? Jai. Well, I have a little example of that. So I was teaching at the university, and the professor who was my boss said to me, "There's a wonderful job coming up, and I would really like for you to have that job." And he asked me exactly what my qualifications were and what degrees I had and stuff, so that he wanted to be sure that when they wrote the job description that I met all the requirements. That's how keen he was for me to have this job. And I was really excited about it. I thought it was a step up, or certainly a step into something I thought I would really enjoy. And I went for the interview, and it went really well. He was there at the interview he interviewed with two other people, and so we did the whole thing. It went well. And the next day he phoned me, and he started off by saying, "I just wanted to tell you myself." And I thought, oh, here it comes. I just want to be the one to tell you myself that you got the job. And he said, "I just wanted to tell you myself, we've decided to go with somebody else." Wow. So this was a job where the job description was written for me. It's a great blow to the ego when you find you can't get a job that was written for you. I was angry, I was hurt, I was upset by it. So at the time, I was suffering. You know, it affected my sense of self-worth, or what it did, if you prefer to put it in this language, it triggered for me. It brought raising up from my unconscious those feelings that you have as a child even. You know, you're not good enough, you're not worth it, you're not clever enough, you don't work, we don't really want you, we're not interested in you. All of these feelings of being rejected that we carry with us in within our subconscious. So that's how I felt at the time, and for quite a while after. It took a while to process it, to let it come up into the conscious mind and work with it. But what actually happened was I got a different job. And this different job gave me more money, it gave me more freedom, and it gave me the opportunity to go out and work in Africa, which I ended up doing for a period of about 15 years, and was a great blessing in my life. I wouldn't have been able to do it if I'd been doing that other job. So it's this opportunity to see the difference between what the soul has in mind. So my soul, if my soul's in charge, I don't need a job that's not good for me. The universe had a much better job. You know? My view was limited. I didn't see what was coming next. But if I could have at the time not been plagued by the pain of feeling less than, I wouldn't have had to suffer at all. If I had trusted in the universe, trusted in the Lord of my heart, that what's for you will not go by you. To just be all right in that moment, not worried about those things. And eventually that happens with all of our fears, with all of these jealousies and old ideas of lack of worth, whatever it is that's lying in your subconscious. Eventually they'll all be transformed. So when they come up, what an opportunity for us. So Thich Nhat Hanh is saying, learn how to suffer, how to make use of this incredible opportunity to gather the energy of mindfulness and compassion that's so vital for us. Have compassion for yourself if you're hurting. Have compassion for the other people involved. So this man had wanted me to have the job, but when they were interviewing, they found somebody who had skills I didn't have. And they thought, actually, this would be even better for us. And I didn't have those skills. I couldn't bring that to them. So it was a win-win for everyone. They got a person who suited them better. She got a job that she really wanted. And I got to move on to something that was an even greater blessing in my life. And so just in that one simple memory, to look back and to see the hand of spirit and of the divine working in our lives. No longer angry with other people for putting you in this position, rather to be grateful for them for giving you this chance to let go of something you do not want to be carrying, something that separates you from your true self and your own soul. So he says, practice, cultivate the energy of mindfulness every day. That's why yogis sit to meditate. They get up in the morning, they sit to meditate. Before they go to bed at night, they sit and meditate again. So that even if they get distracted during the day, they have time set aside where there is no distraction. And the more we do that, the more we're likely to notice when these negative emotions come up into our consciousness, or negative thoughts. And it says so that we're able to be present when fear, anxiety, despair, and anger rise up into our conscious mind. We're ready. We're there, we're present and ready to look at it. And so, just for these next few minutes, let's be mindful Just practice being mindful. And over the next few weeks, we're going to look at different ways, but through these practices with Thich Nhat Hanh, we've been doing breathing as one of the most reliable and simple ways to become mindful. So taking 2 or 3 really deep breaths, filling your lungs, breathing from the diaphragm, letting your stomach come out as you breathe in, all the way up to your collarbones, filling your lungs, and exhaling. It's quite nice to do a double exhalation, so inhaling and exhaling, and again. And then relaxing. And putting your awareness at the nostrils. And just watching. Watch the breath as it goes in and as it comes out. Don't try to breathe. Watch the breath. It's completely different. You're not focused on making yourself breathe. You're watching it happen. And don't worry if some inhalations are longer than others, or if your exhalation is shorter or longer. Just watch. And watch what happens. And now, just add to that as you breathe in. It's basically labeling what's happening. So as your body is breathing in, just say the words internally to yourself. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. We'll do this for the next 5 minutes. And if any negative emotions or fear or sadness come up into your mind, embrace them with this beautiful energy of mindfulness. Big sister to your little sister, big brother to your little brother, for the next minute or two. Jai. And just bringing your energy fully into your physical body as you tense and relax your arms and legs. So that mindfulness is becoming a part of our daily existence. Not something we visit occasionally, but a way to live. And just gently opening your eyes and looking out at the world with mindful view. Namaste. May you have a wonderful week.